right, welcome everyone on this wonderful Tuesday evening. My name is Jessica Parker, and I have with me the amazing Dr. Christie Murray and Aaron Owens. These two are some amazing leaders in our community. And listen up, y'all. You are going to want to listen to this entire conversation. Not only are we going to learn more about Aaron and his business and Dr. Christie and her upcoming summit, but you are going to learn about an amazing giveaway, right? So we are 30 days away from the Youth College Excellence Summit. And don't worry, the link is in the chat. And I will be sharing it throughout this conversation so that you can reserve your virtual seat for yourself and your family. Let me tell you, this information is invaluable, and you are going to want to grab your notebook, as I have mine right here, and get ready to sit back and absorb something that's going to elevate you and your family. All right, so Dr. Christie, go ahead and introduce yourself, and I look forward to this amazing conversation.
All right. Greetings, Facebook family, and those who are watching us live and those who may watch us after it's been recorded. We want to thank you for joining. First, I want to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Christie Murray. I'm the CEO and president of Educational Excellence, Inc. And I focus in a space where I work with families and students to help them to try to not only get accepted into college by having a robust and simple plan, but also how to graduate debt-free and minimize the number of people. There's currently 44 million people in this country with student loan debt, totaling to over $1.7 trillion. And so we want to reduce that because it does not have to be your reality. I published 2 books, the first called College Planning Strategies. I wish someone had told me. And then after talking to hundreds and thousands of families across the country, I had a common question asked. Well, we got accepted, we're really excited, but guess what? How are we going to pay for it? And so that's the theme of tonight's conversation. How are we going to pay for it? And that was the impetus for me writing my second book, College Funding Strategies. I wish someone had told me. So I'm really excited tonight. We have a guest that we've invited. I want to give Mr. Aaron Owens an opportunity to introduce himself, and then we're going to have kind of a Q&A style to this. We both have some things in common. We both are interested in financial wealth and stability and freedom, and we both have young people who are either in college, about to go to college, or about to graduate from school. So we're going to share our experiences as we talk. But first, let me give Mr. Owens an opportunity to introduce himself.
Greetings, Dr. Murray. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Aaron Owens. I'm what they call a serialpreneur. You know, I'm a graduate of Morgan State University, so I had that college experience and I had that college debt that you talked about. I'm just recently in my early 40s just getting to pay that off. So I know the feeling. As far as what I do, I own a few businesses, everything from insurance company to assisted living to a few other businesses, commercial real estate. But one of the main things that I'm excited about is a company called Education Over Entertainment. It's a company that I created with my daughters. And basically our goal was to teach this financial, economic empowerment through financial literacy. So teaching people about, you know, life is not what you have, it's what you keep and pass on to the next generation. And so I'm super excited about sharing my experiences and hoping I can leave somebody with a gem that'll help them become financially free and live the life that, you know, the real American dream.
Fantastic. See, this is really exciting. So I do want to give a shout out first to Mr. Owens attending an HBCU, historically Black college and university, Morgan State University. I'm also an HBCU graduate of the Hampton University, the real HU, sidebar. And so I want to just dive right in. And, you know, we both, again, have in common this theme about leaving a legacy. It sounds like, you know, that's one of the themes I just heard from Mr. Owens. And here's what I'll tell you. There's a lot of folks who are graduating with debt and they don't have to. It does not have to be everyone's reality. And we want to expose the truth and come up with different strategies and share some of those. So before we dig into the strategies, let's go back to the problem. Mr. Owens, in your mind, and I know that you have daughters, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with your daughters and your successes on how they use their time and what actions they took to position themselves?
Okay, one of the things is that it really goes back to me and their mother. You know, we both had, once we graduated, we had student loan debt, as and a lot of it. You know, it was easy to get the student loans and the subsidized, and you just had to sign the paper. And at the time, I thought it was a great thing to do because it made things easier. But as I got older, I see that, hey, you got to pay this back. And so the one thing that, you know, in my 30s, I had children maybe in my late 20s. I realized I didn't want them to have that same situation that I had, because I knew it would be years before I could pay that debt back. So, you know, as they went to school, you know, we invested, you know, from K3 to 8th grade, they were in a private school because I felt like I wanted them to have the foundation to be able to exceed. And that was a smaller school. But once they got to high school, I wanted them to be around a larger group of people and to be experience what life was about, and not just in this little small space where you around the same 30 kids that you've been around since you were, you know, in kindergarten. So I wanted to get the, you know, full live high school experience. But in that experience, they got to take AP classes because they were a little bit more advanced, and they got to get college credits. And, you know, both of them graduated with over a 4.0 GPA. And I have, like I said, I have one daughter that's ready, a senior, going into her senior year at the University of Maryland, and another one that's just graduated from high school and will be attending University of Maryland, Baltimore County, but she's going to take a gap year. So she's going to not attend this year. She wanted to take a break and just start next year. But in the process of doing that work, they all had scholarships. And my oldest daughter will be graduating debt free from college, and, you know, college has put a little money in her pocket.
Excellent. Excellent. And you know, you raised a couple of key points. You and your wife invested in them. You were both very supportive in terms of make sure you had resources for them to get a quality K through 12 education. And it sounds like they did their part academically by both having over a 4.0 GPA. When your daughters got to high school and you recognized that they were both interested in college, did you wait till their senior year to kind of ramp that up, or how was were you deliberate, or were you just kind of reactive with your planning process?
No, we were very, you know, we didn't push them, we just encouraged them. And basically how my thought process was with them is, you know, you tell me what it is that you want to do, and then you let your actions show me that that's what you want to do. So if you're telling me, okay, I want to do this particular field, and this is what it takes to be into that particular field, then your grades should show that procedure. You know, it's like your action should show what you're telling me that you want to do. We never really pushed them to say, this is what you're gonna do. It was more so, if this is what you say you want to do, these are the actions that you need to take place, whether it's filling out for a scholarship or a grant, or whether it's, you know, attending AP classes, whether it's, you know, staying at the school and doing a mentorship or something that you needed to put on your college transcript, whatever it is. Like, they were active in the school along with, you know, the educational process.
Excellent. So the key word that I heard probably at least 6 times in that brief statement was action.
Oh, definitely.
And so it sounds like you put the responsibility. That's one of the things I always tell students when I talk to them. This is your future. So you have to be prepared to take action and own the process. And it sounds like they did. So because your daughters really, it seemed like they embraced your philosophy of you guys need to take action. How did that work out for them? What were the outcomes they received from that?
I think, and it's amazing because the reality is they're totally different. You know, my two daughters are totally different. I have one that's real outgoing, and she's real involved, and she's created, you know, that she likes to be acknowledged, you know, so, you know, it worked out for her. And then I have another one that's laid back and just want to do what she has to do. And, you know, she has her small community that she deals with. So it worked out differently for both of them, but they're both in a position where they're going to be able to attend the colleges that they want to attend and work in the field that they want to work in if they continue to, work the way they're doing.
Outstanding. Now you mentioned they're both attending college, and you mentioned your oldest daughter is about to graduate college,
Yes.
well positioned with no student loan debt.
No,
How
not.
did she do that?
I think it was a combination of things. It was a combination of planning on her behalf as far as academically to get scholarships is planning, filling out grants and her mother, and that part was, I give her mother credit, that her mother was diligent in making her like, listen, we need to fill these paperwork out, we need to do this, but also it was planning on the parents' part to say, hey, listen, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to set up financial things to be able to make sure that they can get what they need to get. So I think it's just a total, it's not just one person, it's a total family structure in getting it done.
Okay, so I heard key things that stuck out. Everybody had to be diligent, starting with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Planning was important. You'd be surprised how many families I talk to who wait until the last minute or the ninth hour, and then they're in this reactionary state where they're struggling just to do the next key thing, and it never gives them the opportunity to be strategic and deliberate in their actions, as you call those. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I heard was it's a family affair.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, we feel like whether it was college tours, whether it was workshops on how to get funding, whether it was just talking to people, like my daughters became very involved with their guidance counselors at an early age. As soon as they got to high school, now I told you we're in private school from K3 to 8th grade, then they went to public high school, to get a more, rounded experience. But from day one, they got involved with their counselors and people because they knew, especially my oldest daughter knew what she wanted to do. So they developed that relationship, and with developing those relationships, also opportunities came to them that probably wouldn't have if they didn't have those type relationships and showed up, to get the information.
Absolutely. You bring up some very key things. You talked about talking to different people, building a relationship with school and guidance counselors, attending workshops. And I find it interesting because you working with, being a serialpreneur and working in different financial and educational spaces. You mean you didn't rely just on your own knowledge? You actually reached out and expanded your network because there were things that you could benefit from learning from others?
Oh, that was the main thing. I think that everybody that I thought or didn't think that I came across that mentioned an opportunity, I researched every opportunity that was out there. So I'm from my degrees is in human service. So I got social workers and other people in the human service field that are always around. So I'm always grabbing for opportunities to see, how I can improve the situation. Because like I said, at the end of the day, I wanted them to come out of school debt free because that gave them a new lease on life, to be able to walk across the stage and say, boom, let me not worry about paying the student debt in 6 months. Let me worry about what's my next opportunity, because that can change the way in which you function in your professional career based off what you got to pay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I try to tell students because there's so many opportunities for scholarships, in particular, private scholarships, university scholarships, and both in grants holistically. You talked about research. Mm-hmm. That implies action. I'm going to use that word again. And like I always tell my son, even when I think about you have to ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find. Mm-hmm. Both start with actions on an individual's part. So what were your daughter's actions in terms of finding that money, scholarships and grants to graduate debt free? Did you just wait for it to just fall out of the sky? Did they just wait, or did they go out and do something?
No, they definitely they got with guidance counselors, find out, when people came to the school to talk about different workshops, or whether it's at their lunch break or they had the little people come through, and they would just come back with that information. Mom, Dad, listen, they got this going on. Is this at the library? Can we, and we also researched it by being, like I said, being in the human service field. There was always opportunities. I had individuals that I worked with who ran college prep courses, or did stuff like the college tours. So they had information, based off the, and I used to work for the Department of Social Services. So we had opportunities and things that came about. And when those things came about, I also introduced them to my children and other people that, anybody who wanted the information. Is, I believe, a lot of people say knowledge is power. I tend to believe that, but more importantly, I believe applied knowledge is power, because if it's not applied, it's just information. So that's something that I instill in them. It's okay to get the information, but it's not powerful until you apply it and make it do the thing that it's intended to do.
That is so incredibly powerful and important to differentiate, that you have to put it into practice. You have to apply it, have to take that action. So let me ask you a question. You and your wife, you both seem like you had a lot of great resources at your fingertips to help you, and you kind of knew how to point your daughters in the right direction. What advice would you give families who may not even know where to start researching, looking for those funding opportunities?
I think definitely reach out to the guidance counselors, the school principals, teachers. Like your teachers had to go to college in order to teach in most cases. Find your favorite teacher, talk to your favorite teacher, the library. And one of the biggest things is Google, or, there's information on the internet. Like, I think we walk around with computers in our pocket, and it shouldn't just be for texting and Facebook. That shouldn't be the only book that you pick up and read. There's books at the library that has 1,001 scholarships that you can apply for. There's things to do. So don't make Facebook or Instagram the only, literature that you read during the day.
Very, very powerful. You talked about Google. You mentioned you and your wife had student loan debt, and back in the day, we won't call out no years because the internet predated me in college as well. But back in the day, when you and your wife were in school, I was in school for that matter, we didn't have Google, did we?
No, we didn't have Google. And it took about 15 minutes just to get on the internet. It was bing, 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 bing. You had to wait it out. So it wasn't as instantaneously as it is today.
Absolutely. And so one of the key messages I want to make sure I emphasize to families is you have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and apply the knowledge, as Mr. Owens talked about, and really be able to use Google. Google is a significant resource. Google, YouTube, all these different platforms. If you're going to be on Facebook, we're on Facebook Live now, but we're sharing rich information and knowledge to be helpful, not just entertaining. I'm all for being entertained, but I also think that there's a lot of value in education and entertaining at the same time. And so with that being said, you talked about your daughter. We're going to transition a little. So you have your oldest daughter about to graduate debt-free. And you talked about having a second daughter who is a recent high school graduate.
Yes.
She's gotten scholarship money and she's taken a gap year. Tell us about her decision to take a little time off first.
Well, after graduation, we were sitting back and my daughter came, say, let me and her mother know, like, hey, I want to talk about, because we were at the stage where you had to declare college. So she had to make a decision. So she was like, I've been thinking about it, and I really think I want to take a gap year. She said, this year's been really stressful. She maintained, decent GPA. And she was like, I just want to I want to see if I really want to go to college. I want to see if I just want to go into the work field, because she wants to, she's into writing and graphics and things like that. So she said, I want to see if I can find a position. She said, the one thing I don't want to do is waste my time and your money. And I had to respect that. And I said, her mother was a little bit frustrated, I won't say frustrated. She was concerned because in her mind, you're ready to go. But, after talking about it, I said, hey, this is her life, and we got to support her life. And I think that the fact that she was able to articulate her feelings in that manner made me think like, this wasn't just a plan that she came up with overnight. She thought about it. So, we support it. So we sat down with her and say, okay, what does this look like? And she was, because she had received scholarships and grants, and, those things had to be, accepted and things of that nature. So she was able to write everybody that she received awards from. Every person that she received the award from said, okay, you can put it off to the following fall. So everything that she received as far as grants and scholarships are still in place. And, she's going to, look around and see what her plan is. And depending on how that plays out, she'll enroll in college, not this fall, but the following fall.
I think that's really remarkable that your daughter had enough fortitude to be honest with herself about where her state of mind was and what she wanted to do, and honest with both of her parents, both of you, because a lot of students feel pressured to have to go to college right away. And certainly it's remarkable that all of the scholarship entities who were awarding her money was patient and supportive enough to roll that over for the next academic year. So that's really powerful that she had that experience. The key thing that I want to emphasize, and I just did a video about you have not because you ask not. And if your daughter hadn't asked, she could have naturally just made the assumption that, oh, I won't be able to keep those funds. But we all just learned something new, that they have the latitude, and they gave her the gratitude of being able to do that.
Yep, they sure did. They say closed mouth don't get fed.
That's what they say. And, I was working with a couple of young people here recently, and I was on TikTok, and I put together a couple of videos, and the comments I get back were extremely valuable. I did a video and I told students, hey, it's summertime. Most financial aid offices they have some money left over right now because some students decided not to come. They picked different schools. So circle back around to your financial aid office if you still have a shortfall and find out about any additional funding they may have. In the comments, some of the students, should I do that in person? You want me to go talk? You don't want me to just text and email? And so I really want to talk about the approach taken. And it goes along that theme, closed mouths don't get fed. Mm-hmm. There's some things that texting is well suited for. There's some things that email is suitable for. But when it comes down to money matters, what advice would you give to young people who ordinarily would stick to their mobile devices to get out and advocate and build those relationships you talked about earlier in terms of getting more funding?
I think that is the real big thing. I think is like, don't be afraid. I mean, the worst that can happen is that you're in the situation that you're already in. You know the status. So even a no may not be a no, it might be a not right now. But if they saw your face and they recognized and something else came up earlier, it's about building relationships. If you step into a financial aid office and they get to know who you are and you can express that need, there's an opportunity that face, when something comes available, and they'll remember that name. There's a lot of things that come my way as an adult because I might have said hi, or just because somebody remembered a conversation or a nice thing, just go out there and act, be yourself, and just understand that, closed mouth don't get fed, but a nice one does, so just open your mouth, smile, be pleasant, and people will recognize, and, if things come available, hopefully you'll get it. But the worst case scenario is if you don't get something that you don't already have, you haven't lost anything. But it's never a loss, it's always a lesson. So somebody can tell you, okay, this may not be available, but this over here is, how about you apply for this? So, but you won't get that information if you don't try.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it any better. I appreciate your time tonight. I want to end by having you share some of your professional insights in terms of strategies. You talked earlier about investing and offline. I think you mentioned being able to take advantage of, your tax situation. But as a parent, what are some of the things that you would encourage parents to do to position themselves to be able to support their students and their children with their the college funding component?
I just think like just staying on top of, just your finances and understanding, because I mean, there may be situations, and it's everybody's situation is different. So this, trying to be a financial strategist is not my cup of tea, but I know for us, it was just like, making sure our books lined up and what we needed to do and what the requirements were for certain situations, just understanding your finances and how you, it's like, in ways you file, your taxes, you might be married, filing single, or married jointly or whatever. All those things affect how you, do it. So you want to get with your accountant and find out what it is. I won't really speak on that, but it's just understanding how, your finances play into, long-term situations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so one of the common themes I heard you say was to get educated. In order to know how to move and maneuver, you have to understand what goes into the calculations, what goes into the decisions on how funding is given out. Right. And so if you begin with the end in mind and you understand what you're trying to accomplish in the end, you can back your way up through information and knowledge to get there.
Yeah, you can reverse engineer it. If you know what the end goal is, you just don't, if you want to be a golfer, you just don't just pick a golf club. You got to learn to putt before you learn to swing that. If you can get in close, it's just learning the process. And I think that when you sit back and really educate yourself on the process, sometimes you can avoid a lot of pitfalls because you can see what needs to be done instead of trying to figure it out all the way. If you start at the end and just work your way back to the beginning, you say, okay, this is the process. This is what I need. This is what I need at this point. And I think just get with people who've been through the process. Like yourself, if you've been through that process, if you say if somebody had told you, talk to the people that know. If I go to a foreign country and I need directions, I'm definitely not going to ask the person who was on the plane with me who said this is their first time here. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Go to the people who've been there, who's been doing that process. And so I just think it's seek the knowledge and don't be afraid.
Well, thank you very much. This has been extraordinarily insightful. I appreciate the dialogue. You ended with get with people who've been through the process and been where you've been. And I want to transition that into talking about what Jessica mentioned earlier, and that's our Youth College Excellence Summit coming up on August 14th and 15th. It is a virtual event, so there's no reason why people all across the country can't attend. Everybody knows somebody who's either in school, about to go to school, planning to go to school, and hopefully trying to do all of that without incurring a lot of debt. And so we want to reach families early, not just the students. I love talking to students and parents together because I think there's value in them hearing the same information at the same time. So we're inviting students and parents to our summit. We want to talk to you about your entire experience, whether it's how do you choose a career or profession. We have professionals lined up to talk to. We're going to talk about the college admissions process, the college funding process, the whole you from a fitness and mental health standpoint, and hear from college students, both NCAA athletes who are both students and athletes at the same time. And also we have college students who are also entrepreneurs. So what do you mean you can do more than one thing at the same time and do them well? So we want to encourage young people to think multidimensional in their lives instead of sequential, because there's so many things that you can be doing to build wealth while you're growing your knowledge base. To me, education and knowledge is a lifelong lesson. It's a lifelong journey you're on. So it doesn't just end with a 4-year degree or a graduate degree. And so we want to bring all those experiences together, and an incredible 2-day experience where you will absolutely walk away, like Mr. Owens said, by hearing from people who've been where you've been and can help you through the process with the tools and techniques so that you can achieve those goals that you have for your own life. So with that being said, thank you so very much, Mr. Owens. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Parker.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for everyone that tuned in. And if you're watching this live now or on replay, take a moment, show us some love, put a takeaway in the comments. We love to read your comments. Like, and then share this with someone that you know that maybe has been talking about going back to school, or maybe they have a high schooler or even a middle schooler. Look, this educational information is for the entire family. So the link is in the comments below. When you reserve your ticket today, you will be entered in for a coaching session with Dr. Christie to pave the way of your educational journey. Aaron, thank you so much for taking your time. And of course, Dr. Christie, it's always a pleasure just to listen to you and your knowledge. Look, y'all, this event is invaluable. When you go there and you see just how much you're going to get in those 2 days, you are going to be like, wow, they are giving this away. And, you know, we have an amazing experience laid out for you, and we just look forward to that. So tune in tomorrow for another live conversation with myself, Dr. Christie, and another special guest. Peace, y'all.